Hello, today I'm going to be showing you how to roll paper with no gap in the middle. Most people roll paper with a wire or a string to get the roll started, but that leaves a gap in the middle. So I'm going to be showing you how to roll it where you get a nice solid roll. Now some things you're going to need: common kitchen serrated knife, Elmer's glue all-purpose glue, sandpaper, make sure it's a heavy grit like 80 grit, wet paper towels, dry paper towels, a pen or a pencil, and of course paper. This is letter size paper, but you can use legal size if you want. This is all-purpose paper. It's not as dense as high quality paper, but it's more dense than low quality paper. Low quality paper is just not dense enough. It falls apart easy whenever you're trying to roll it, and it just isn't as good. High quality paper you would think would be better, but it's so dense that you can't use as many sheets as you could with all-purpose. So your rolls are going to be a lot thinner for the same amount of weight. So I like to use this because it has a good density, but also has a low weight. So it's a good medium ground. All right, let's get started. So to start your roll, you're going to want to take your sheet of paper, put it on the edge of the table like this, come all the way down, take your other hand and put it underneath the table, and pull up. This puts a nice roll into the paper and it makes it easier to roll. So just do that 3 times, right side, middle side, and left side, and then you're ready for the next step. So the next step is actually starting your folds. Now I've colored in the bottom here, as most of you may have noticed, for educational purposes and showing you just how small these folds are. So to start off, you're going to fold it over, but make sure it's nice and loose. You don't want to crease it just quite yet. So once you have it over, you're going to make sure it's round. Just going to pull back on it. Just move your fingers back, bringing it closer and closer to the edge. I'll show you up here. Just bring it closer and closer, and you're going to make it smaller and smaller, as you can see. And as I do that, it's going to get so small that you can't see it on the camera, which is why I colored it in. So just gonna do that all the way down. You're gonna want to do it multiple points. Make sure that you get it the same size. So over here, fold it up and slowly bring it back to you. Slowly just covering over more paper so you can get the fold down small as you humanly can. Alright. Do that all the way down and make sure it's the same length. Once you get it the same length, crease it really good, because this is going to be very important. Alright. So as you can see, it is a very thin crease. So now we're going to repeat this process, but this time as you bring it back, it's going to catch on your last fold. So as I'm bringing it back, it's going to catch right there. As you can see right there, it caught on itself. And so you're going to do that all the way down and bring it to where it catches on itself. This will make sure that your fold stays the same all the way down. Just fold it over, push it back, catch on itself. All the way down. Alright, and now you're going to do that again. And you're going to keep doing this over and over again. And it'll slowly get thicker and thicker as you go along. Alright, do it again. Bring it over, slowly roll it back until it catches. So keep your folds nice and tight. Remember, we're trying to make it to where there is no gap in the middle. Solid piece of paper. A solid roll of paper. Alright, do it again. Flip it over, bring it back so it catches in itself. keep doing that all the way down. And eventually it gets to the point to where you can just fold it over quickly and bring it back. And you're not gonna have to spend as much time getting it worked all the way down. So we keep doing that, making sure that it gets done all the way down each side, making sure that it stays nice and tight. There we go. As you can see, it gets quicker. I can just fold it up over and roll my fingers back and forth. Now if you're completely lost, don't worry, I'm going to show you how to do this in a second in a much more enlarged way. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and set this aside for a second. Bring this out. Show you how to do it a little bit more enlarged way. Just got to make sure my fold stays Alright, so I'm going to demonstrate with a much bigger fold this time. Alright, there's my fold. We got it creased nice and good. I'm going to roll it up and over, bring it back. You can do this too just so you can get the general method. Now it's going to catch on it as you're bringing it back. So as you're bringing it back, you can see that paper gets closer and closer to the edge until it catches. So it's caught right there, and then you can fold it, and that's how you get a nice even sized fold all the way down whenever you're doing this. So I'm going to do this a couple of times on large seat so that you can see it better. So fold it over and I bring it back slowly until I get it caught. See how it catches on the paper right there and stops? That's when I fold it over. And I do that all the way down the rest of the side. There you go. It's nice and even all the way down every time. Eventually you'll get faster at it, so don't worry if you're a little slow at it. I mean, it took me a week or so to figure out how to roll a paper like this. Alright, so back to this. Now I've gotten it to where it's pretty thick. You can see it's kind of thick there. And there too. So now we can actually just start rolling it almost. But you're still going to be folding it and creasing it and pulling it back all at the same time. So roll it over and I kind of push back on it. You can see the paper will bend right there. You don't want it to do that. Just keep rolling over, pulling it back, flattening it out, making sure that you are partially creasing it. I mean, it's going to flatten out and the edges will round eventually, but as of right now you want it to be slightly creased, but still it's going to be really round. Okay, we're going to keep rolling it all the way up. Alright, so now we've gotten to the end. What are we going to do? You're actually going to unfold it a little bit. So you have about ½ an inch showing right here on the edge. Next you're going to take your bottle of Elmer's glue all. Set this on the table. And for this, you're going to hold the bottle straight up on its edge and you're going to want to come halfway down on the paper, probably to about right there. And just lay a thin bead of glue all the way down. Alright. So make sure your roll stays nice and tight. Mine came loose a bit. Alright. Stand the bottle almost straight up, slightly bent over. You don't want to do it right on the edge, you want to do it close to the edge. You're just going to slowly move down and stop before you get to the end. I left space at the end down here and the end down here, and I also left some space between the end. This is so that the glue will disperse and you're not using as much glue. And then we're just going to roll it over the glue. Keep rolling it over. Keep rolling it over. The glue spreads all throughout the edge of the paper. Just start rolling it. And there you go. You have this first roll. Now we're going to let this sit for 20 seconds or so. In the meantime, use the wet rag you have and wipe off your surface. If you don't want to have to wipe down your surface after every roll, just get a piece of cardboard and roll it on top of that. It does get messy after a while, so I would suggest just wiping down your surface after every roll. Alright, now it's time to add more paper to this roll. To do that, you're going to have to get another sheet of paper. And then you're going to have to do that same method that I showed you earlier. Sticking your hand underneath the table and giving this just a little bit of a roll crease. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Roll one down this edge. Pull two right through the middle. And one last time down the edge. As you can see, it's nice and curvy. Now we're going to get our sheet of our roll paper and our glue bottle. Now we're going to do the same thing. Put it close to the edge, kind of in the corner, but not all the way. Stand it almost straight up, but slightly at an angle. Slowly squeeze just a little thin bead of glue all the way down. Now if you want to see it, there it is, really thin, almost to the edge there. If you get it to the edge like I did, just take your finger and wipe it off. Take your wet cloth, get the glue off your finger, and time to add this piece of paper. Now, this part is very important that you keep the edges to the edge of the paper. If you get misaligned just a little bit, it's going to mess up your roll later on. So you're going to put it on the paper and slowly bring it back over the glue, spreading the glue all the way across the roll. Bringing it close to, but not all the way to the edge. Make sure it's even on both sides. So when you get up and walk around, make sure it's even here. Make sure that there's an even amount of space between the edge of the paper. As you can see right here, there's still some paper sticking out behind it. I didn't push it all the way to the edge because you just don't want to stick it all the way to the edge. Trust me, it makes it easier. Alright, let that sit for a minute. Take this and kind of roll it back and forth, get that glue spread out. I'll kind of hook the paper and curve the edges a little bit for whenever you start rolling it. Let that sit. Keep your wet cloth. Wipe your spot down. Dry it off. Just let this sit for a couple seconds longer. Now it's time to start rolling. Same thing. Just gonna roll over, make sure your rolls are tight, and keep rolling all the way down. Now as you can see, it's kind of still got that fold, but it'll work out as you add more paper to it. Now you don't want to do this. You don't want to take your hands and roll like that because you can push out and oh look, there's a gigantic gap in my paper right there. You do not want that to happen. So when you roll it, be sure to keep your fingers tight, roll over and pull back. Keep one finger or two fingers on the paper at all times so that the paper's not moving around. Slowly roll it up. Making sure that the rolls are tight, really, really tight. Just get this all the way down. Same thing when you get to the end. Take your glue bottle, stand it up on its end. Put it close to, but not on the edge. Really thin. I would almost say it's like painting the glue on, because it's not even a bead. It's more like just a thin layer. And roll over it. Roll the paper so that the edge is sealed and fused with the paper. Alright. Hold that up in the air so it doesn't glue to anything. Wipe down the table. Get all that glue off. Dry cloth. come across, dry it. There we go. We got 2 sheets of paper. Now as you can see here, I got off just a little bit. So it sticks out there and it comes in there. But you can see just how tight the different rolls are. There is a slight air gap in there, but we'll fill that in later. You can kind of see around the edge right there, it wasn't completely aligned. So it's very important to keep your paper aligned. Alright, we're going to add another sheet to the paper. So remember, be sure to roll this on the edge of the table. So it has a little bit of curve to it. Take your glue. Paint that glue on. Not all the way to the edges, but close to the edges. Take your paper, put it further up, bring it down. Also, make sure that the last crease, you can see the edge of the paper right there is facing on top and that you're not gluing onto that. You want to glue it onto the solid portion of paper. This is so that it doesn't come undone. Alright, bring it back close to the edge, but not all the way. Make sure the edges are aligned. As you can see, my edges are aligned there and right there. I brought it close to, but not all the way to the edge. I still left some room right there. And then I'm going to rock it back and forth. Spread the glue out. Apply pressure on the edges in the middle. Let it dry for a couple seconds. A few seconds more. Wipe the glue off that it got onto your table. And roll it again. Keeping it nice and tight. Always using one finger to kind of hold the paper down. Get to the edge. Once again. Got just a little bit on the edge right there. Take the glue. Then painting it on. Not all the way to the edges, but close to it. And roll your paper over. Roll it and roll it so that it gets nice and glued down. If you get any gaps, just bring your finger right over it. See right there, it didn't glue down. Take your block glue, put a thin bead, just a tiny dot inside of there. Take your finger and work it in there, and then fold it back over it. Make sure that your edges are down. This edge has to be redone too. Just thin drop in there, a little drop. There we go. Fold it over. There you go. That is 3 sheets of paper. This one you can see was much better on the edges. Still just a little bit off, but it's fine because you're probably going to be cutting these to size. And I would definitely plan to take ½ an inch off of each side if you're measuring these for certain things like a sword or a bridge or a model person if you're weird, but I might do that sometime for fun. Alright, so then you're going to add a couple more sheets of paper to it. As you can see, it's a lot thicker. Got this other one that's not completely done. It's the one we did earlier. Quite a bit smaller. Added about 2 more sheets on the outside of the paper. So now you've got the edges. And you either A, want to clean this up, or you've got a specific amount of roll that you need. How are you going to get this apart? Quite simply, use a serrated knife. Do not use a saw. If you use like an electric saw, it will just tear this paper to bits, and it will also burn the paper. I tried that. I mean, most people say you need power tools. You will probably need a drill. You're gonna try and... There's a bug on the table. It's a little bug crawling around in my finger. Alright, get off. You're gonna need power tools. You're gonna try and drill into it, but for cutting it, all you need is a serrated knife. Alright. You're gonna take your pen, mark off where you want to cut it. Let's say I want to cut it right here. So just mark it off. And then you would use a ruler to make that nice and straight. Of course, I'm just freehanding this, so it will definitely not be straight. Take your knife, set it down. This is where cutting mat comes in handy. I'm using a cutting mat as my surface. I would not suggest just doing that on a flat table. Make sure to use a cutting mat. So, take your knife and set it on top. And you're only going to want to do back strokes. If you push forward, your knife's going to slide everywhere and it's going to cut everything. So, set it on the mark, pull back. Can't really tell, but we creased it. Actually, you can right there. It's a nice indent. So make sure your knife sits inside of that the entire time. And then just pull back. Set it back in there, pull back. In there, pull back. Keep doing this. Take it a little bit, but trust me, it's worth it. Just keep pulling back. You'll get through it eventually. As you can see, about halfway through it now. Now, I'm trying to do a forward stroke at this point, but it's catching on it, which is why the back strokes are all that you really need to use. Now, you can go ahead and roll it just a little bit. If you roll it over like that and you try and cut it, you're gonna mess up and it's not gonna be a straight cut. So you can roll it just a little bit so that you're cutting more of it, but stay inside of that mark you made. Almost there. And about 2 more cuts should do it. 1, 2. Alright. So now you can see that I've almost got it cut. It's just on a little bit. I'm gonna take your knife and do this in the air. And just move this back and forth. Keep the knife still. And just kind of slice it. Falls right off. Here's the other bit. As you can see, got all that black from the original roll. So, first thing you want to do actually is clean off that knife. If you did not let this dry, there will definitely be glue on your knife, and you're probably going to want to eat. And you might have to cut something. So, now that that's done, you'll notice that there's burrs around the edges and that this is a little rough. That's where your nice handy sheet of sandpaper comes in hand. Yeah. So, I'm going to start off by just pulling it back, turning it a little bit every time. I turn it, pull back, just to kind of get the edges fixed. Next, hold it straight. Try and keep it perpendicular so that you make a flat edge. You're going to want to do circle motions and back and forth motions. And then next you're going to want to roll it. So I'm twisting my hand as I roll it, and then I'm moving my hand so that I grab it and come back at the same spot. And that way you get a nice roll out of it. Now, the papers here aren't entirely sealed. As you can see, I can roll it around and squish it, but it is completely solid. So, I'm going to take some glue, put a little dot on the end. There we go. Just like that. Take my finger, press it down inside of the end to seal it off. Also gives it a nice clean end. Put another dot in there. Work that down in there too. seal off the edges, bring it around, work it in there. There you go. It's nice and sealed off. Let that dry for about 10 minutes. Then you get a nice solid end. See how it doesn't bend when I'm squeezing it like this end does. And that's how you roll paper. I'd like to thank you for watching my video on how to roll paper using the fold method. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and share with your friends. If there's anything else you'd like me to do, just say so in the comments and I'll get it done. Once again, thank you for watching.